Hi everyone. Hi everybody. Can
Morning,
you see
everyone.
and hear us? If you are able to do that, just let us know in the chat to make sure that we know that our video and our sound is actually working properly. Thank you for joining us today. I think we saw quite a number of comments already. Some people are already typing like Peter, hi, morning. You're already typing your stocks. That's great. Later you guys can actually type your stocks in the chat, right? And then we can actually do a quick analysis on it as well. Morning, Andy. Good to see you here again today. I think you have been joining us every week. Nice to see you, even though Joey is not here today. Hi, Phyllis. Good morning, Phyllis. Hi, ABC. I think nice to see you here today as well. And I think hi, Vincent. Hi, Colin. Hi, Styler. Nice to see you here as well. All right. Okay, so I think maybe Poyen, right? Poyen is also asking about some stocks, but just wanted to clarify, today you're actually focusing on the US stock market, right? Because if you are new here, actually Joey, Bervyn, and myself, we actually do this every Friday morning, right, at 10:30, to actually cover some of the stocks that you guys are requesting in the chat. And we actually alternate between both markets, right? The Singapore market and the US market. And for today, we are actually focusing on the US market. But anything as long as you remember to subscribe to Joey's YouTube channel, right? And you actually be notified whenever we go live, okay? And then you can actually join us as well. All right. So as the thing is that, as you guys can tell, for those who have been joining us, every week here, the thing is that it's a bit different today because Joey is not here today. He's actually on leave and he's actually on a holiday, right, with his family, like a short holiday. But he actually recorded a video for you guys as well. So let me just play a very, very quick video from him to you guys. All right.
Good morning, guys, and welcome to our Friday weekly AMAS session. Sorry I cannot make it today because I'm currently traveling. Alright, school holidays in Korea now, so short family trip. And yeah, Bervyn and Zee will be running today's AMAS sessions. And yeah, looking forward to see you guys in the next week again when I'm back in Singapore. And yeah, just doing a quick morning run right here. And pretty cold weather. This is probably one of the tallest tower in Seoul, right? Probably going to this amusement park later as well. And yeah, so Bervyn and Zee will run today's session. They will do a quick coverage of the markets. I think the market has been quite bullish, all right? We've seen a couple of push-ups over the past 2 weeks, de-escalation between US and China. There was a trade court that blocked the kind of like tariffs deal as well. And yeah, Bervyn and Zee will cover the markets, cover all the stocks, the US stocks that you guys want a quick opinion on, and also share 2 new US stocks at the end, right? So I'll see you guys. Take care. Signing off. Bye-bye.
All right, so that's a very, very quick one from Joey. So for those of you who are new here, maybe let me just introduce Joey for a bit, right? Okay, so Joey is actually a top tier broker and remisier and trader in Philips Security, and he has been in the industry for more than 10 years, I think 14 or 15 years to be exact, right? Whereby, his forte is actually in the stock market and is looking at chart and technical analysis, right? Mainly, Singapore market, US market, and a little bit of the Hong Kong market, right? So the thing is that Joey actually conducts training program for his One Good Trend framework and strategy. So if you guys are actually keen to find out more about this One Good Trend strategy, feel free to sign up for the webinar. I think Bervyn will actually put the link in the chat for you guys. And because this is our Ask Me Any Stock weekly session, right, whereby we just go through very quickly, what are some of the stocks that you guys need a quick opinion on. We do not have time to actually cover the strategy today, so feel free to attend one of the free webinars to actually understand more about the strategy, all right, by Joey. And later on, we will actually look at the 1GT Pro indicator as well, together with the stocks request that you guys have in the chat, right? So with this 1GT Pro indicator that's developed by Joey, right, within seconds, you're actually able to get a quick opinion with a buy or sell signal, right, on the stock. And then how do you actually analyze the stock and to give you, idea of whether, you should actually take a look at this stock or not, right? And maybe let me just also introduce Bervyn and myself, right? If you guys are not very sure who are we, just in case you're scrolling through Facebook or you're scrolling through YouTube and you're chancing upon this video. So hi everybody, my name is Zee and alongside with me is Bervyn right over there. So together both of us have been working with Joey for close to almost 5 years now, and we're actually leading his group coaching sessions. We actually conduct his one-on-one sessions as part of our mentorship program, right, to our mentees. And we also assist our team portfolio manager with the managed portfolio account service. So both of us are chartered holders, right, in different areas. As you can see, Bervyn is actually a CFA chartered holder, whereby basically it just means that he really looks a lot at balance sheet, account statements and things like that. Whereas I am a CMT chartered holder whereby I look more at like charts and technical analysis and indicators, right? But the thing is that both of our charter holder are actually complementary to each other, while at the same time, adding value to Joey's client. Right? So, Bervyn, do you like to say a few words?
All right, thanks Zee for the introduction. Hi everyone, welcome to our weekly AMAS session. Today we're covering the US market, as like what Zee have said. So today we'll try to go a little bit faster. Yep, so we try to cover more stocks, but of course, so sorry if we are not able to cover all of the stocks that you guys are requesting. We'll try to cover as much as possible, but do of course, come back to join us, next time if we are not able to, of course, cover your stocks as well. So like Zee mentioned, we are both charter holders. We've been working under Joey for more than 4 years, close to 5 years now. Yep. So without much ado, I think I'll pass the time back to Zee to let us get started as well.
All right. Okay. So for today, right, we try to keep things simple, right, with Joey's one good trend strategy. So here's just a standard disclaimer, right, that we have to say, just remember you always have to do your own due diligence when it comes to looking at stocks, right? We are not asking you to buy, not to buy. It's mainly for educational purposes only. Okay. So for the past session, Joey, with Joey, right, we usually cover about 18 stocks, right? 18 stocks. In a span of maybe 1.5 to about 2 hours, right? But since today is just Bervyn and myself, we will try to go a bit faster, and maybe we'll try to cover more stocks today for you guys. All right, we'll try our best, because if 18 stock, that would mean 9 rounds, right, within both of us. Maybe we'll try to go 10 rounds and see if you're able to cover 20 stocks, but let's try our best. All right, let's try our best. So with that, I will hand over the time to Bervyn, right, to actually kickstart today's session with the US market update.
All right, okay, let's get started. We've got quite a little bit to cover today. Okay, I think I'll start with the S&P 500. There's been quite a little bit of news coming in over the last few weeks as well. As Joey, I mentioned quite a few. The US court has started to try to block, a few of those tariff deals. Donald Trump still playing a little bit of a cat and mouse game in that sense with the Feds as well. So we got the upcoming FOMC in middle of June. So you'll see if that first rate cut in this year is going to be coming true or not. But as of right now, I think the market itself had rebounded quite a little bit, retaking a few of those key levels. I think first of all, I think the 5,800 level has clearly become a support level as prices have started to rebound from this level, and that is also where we actually see that 100 days, 200 days, and even that 20 days moving average hovering around as well. So I think that's a good sign. That's a good sign that market have pretty much been able to recover from their sell down from early April. So I think their upside towards that 6200 is what most of the market participants are looking at right now. I think we are towards the end of the earnings seasons. Quite a few good earnings coming out this season. Quite a few having a very bullish outlook for their businesses. So I think so far so good. We look like we are on track to going or taking back that to 6,200 level. So right here we have what we call like a buy and sell signal, where we can actually get a quick opinion even on the index as well. So with the 1GT Pro indicator, you can just turn it on very quickly. We have that 1GT Pro bullish signal actually coming in right under that 5,400 or 5,500 level previously, where prices had pretty much taken off from as well. So with that 1GT bullish indicator still in play right now, perhaps you'll be able to see another 1GT Pro indicator or 1GT bullish indicator come up if prices are able to break above, or the index is able to break above that 6,000 level. So with that trailing support and resistance, of course, if we see 1GT Pro or 1GT bullish indicator coming in, we'll have that trailing support. So what does this trailing support actually mean? This trailing support is actually based on what we call volatility as well. It takes into account the volatility of the index as well. So we can see that as prices started to hit higher, that trailing support starts to hit higher as well. So for those of you who are trading the index, and quite a few of you guys are actually buying the US ETF or the SPY or VOO that tracks the S&P 500, just take a clear look at that trailing support. As long as we're kept above that trailing support right now, I think we are in a good position. So if you are intending to actually get in on those index funds as well, that trailing support would actually be a good level for you to actually plan an entry or buy in or get in on those dips as well. So prices have been pretty much stabilizing, and I think we are expecting prices to fluctuate between this range for a little bit before attempting to break a new high. A couple of factors that could affect would be definitely the interest rate, and then after the 90 days pause on the tariffs, what are we going to be heading towards next? So I think that trade tensions has been easing a little bit. So I think we can continue to monitor. I think hopefully we are able to see a new high come in this year for the S&P 500. So I think Peter is asking a great question right there. Does the ETF follow the index? Yes, the ETF like a VOO or SPY actually tracks the index. So of course there is a little bit of what I like to call a deviation, but it's a very, very minute difference only. Yeah. Okay, so that is it for the S&P 500. Now let's move on to the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Another of those index that I think many of the market participants are watching for the largest companies in the US to get a general sentiment where the biggest businesses are actually heading towards. Okay, so we got that 20 days moving average, I think very clearly still under that 100 days, and 200 days moving average haven't recovered as well, haven't rebounded as well. A little bit more of a stabilization going on as we hit above that 41,000 support level of 41000 level. I think so far so good. We see that 1GT bullish indicator coming in as prices manage to hold above that 41,000 level. So I think we are, pretty much in a phase. As you can see, prices are just within that range of 41,000, under that 41 or 43,000 level. So I think I'll put an immediate resistance right around that 43,000 level. So I think this could be a potential level to actually watch out for. If you need to set up some alerts as well, this level would be a good level to set up some alerts to get yourself notified if the index actually hits higher. I think we still kept under that 45,000 level, right around last year and even early this year. That level was tested. We are almost there, but I think we have to see that $43,000 or 43,000 level give way to form a new base or to get a new support coming in where prices can push higher from. But I think we are on track for a recovery so far. Market Dow Jones have pretty much stabilized, similarly to the S&P 500 after that sell down as well. So okay, so that would be a very, very quick one for I think both those indexes. So I think you can continue to watch the US market. I think quite a few good economic data that is coming out. I think next week we got a non-farm that is coming out, the payroll data that is coming out. I think all these could add to a little bit of volatility in the market. So I think we can continue to monitor as well. So now I think let's begin to actually cover those stocks that you guys actually have requested for as well. So I mean, you can place those stocks that you want. Just put in a comment in the comment section to actually just let us know what US stocks that you actually want us to cover. Perhaps you can also give us a little bit of context. So yeah, not just say right there Apple, then what do we want to know about Apple? All right, so a little bit of context, we can better answer your questions, give a little bit better direction or one of our opinion as well. All right, so let me just look through the comments what we have here. All right, so maybe since Peter is the early participant, let's cover what Peter is asking. All right, good morning. Good morning, Peter. Okay, stock code is call with O. I've been also looking at this counter. Very, very interesting. The prices have actually surged more than 200%, and actually it had actually come as a newly listed stock. All right, it's very it has Nvidia currently has a stake in this company as well. So I mean, there is not much technical analysis going on. We'll try our best. All right, the time period is a little bit short, but obviously we are met with some resistance right around the 125 to 130 level in the nearer term. So that is obviously a level that we actually want to watch out for. So obviously here we do not have a longer term trend because it has just been listed late of March. All right, so we obviously see a little bit of selling come back in. I mean, it's very, very, very normal to see profit taking coming in because prices, if you just see from this IPO date up to today, that's over 200% in the gain already. All right, so I'm not too sure what level is a good level to get in, but I know that you have actually bought at the 117 level, so very, very close to the high. So what I want to actually look out for would be a key psychological level. I'll place a key psychological level right around that $100 level. So right around that $100 level, let's place it as a key psychological support level that you actually want to watch out for, Peter, because prices have actually moved up very, very quickly. It hadn't really consolidated much, hasn't really consolidated as it pushed higher. So we want to watch for a little bit of a consolidation coming in, as prices start to stabilize or start to trade in a sideways trend. So we want to see a little bit more stability in the counter before we push higher. But I think if that trend could continue, I think very, very easily we can see an upside. Let me just do a projection right here, going up to about 145 to that 150 level as of now. Obviously, the 20 days moving average has started to point up as well. So we do not have any 1GT bullish signal coming in just yet. Perhaps if a firm breakout above that 130 level is able to be sustained, I think maybe that's when we can get another new 1GT signal coming in. So if you are looking to protect your position or protect your capital, using that trailing support or using that horizontal support at about $100 level would be a good level to place a stop loss, just in case we see prices continue to sell down, break below that $100 level, going back to the IPO price. That's not what you actually want. All right, so that's a very, very quick one for core weave. I think we can continue to monitor it still, Peter. All right, so I'll pass the time now to Z to cover the next stock for you.
All right, thanks, Bervyn. Okay, let me just share my screen very quickly right over here. But before that, maybe you guys can help us to like and share this video as well. At the corner right over here, right? I think there's like a heart button. Maybe you guys can help us to click the heart button, give us some heart shape, give us some like, and maybe help us to share this video, right? So that it can actually reach more people, right? And maybe we can hopefully also add value to them. Okay, let me just share my screen very quickly right over here. Okay, I hope you guys can actually see my screen. And the stock that I'll be covering for now would be by David, right? David is actually asking, looking to buy PepsiCo after two very I would say bearish signal. Can you please provide some guidance? Okay, so let's take a look at PepsiCo, right? Because I think this is one of the counters that some people might be thinking about buying, especially they think that it's a value counter. They want to buy this and hold it for dividend play as well. But just FYI, because this is actually a US stock, right? You actually do have to pay a 30% withholding tax for any dividends that you receive. Okay, so let's take a look at the stock for PepsiCo, right? Whether is it a good time to actually look at this stock? And if I just zoom in a little bit, right over here, in fact, right, there isn't just two 1GT bearish signal. There's three 1GT bearish signal. One is hiding behind this. Okay, so in total, there is three consecutive 1GT bearish signal. And if we were to look at the trends, okay, based on the moving averages alone, number one, the blue is the longest, which is 200 days, right? 100 days and 20 days. So blue over the red over the green. First thing, that is already not that great, right? Because the trend is clearly it's in a downtrend, right? But very recently, I mean, right over here, if I can draw a support level, where would that be? I think one of the immediate support level would definitely be at this 128 level right over here, right? Because this was where price actually rebounded, right? Buyers came back in to support the prices for now, right? For now, price is actually still holding above this 128 level. So David, if you're thinking about buying, right, one thing that we always tell our mentees, our clients, is that we only want to buy when the stock is in an uptrend, right? When the stock is in an uptrend. So at this point in time, if you look at PepsiCo is very clearly in a downtrend. So we do not want to rush in to buy, right? We don't rush in to buy. I mean, of course, if you decide to buy and you do want to buy, we cannot stop you from buying as well, because it is okay. You want to buy, it's okay. But you must have a trading plan in place, and you also must know how to manage your downside. Because what if prices were to actually break below this 128 support level, then the likelihood of prices actually heading lower, right, is actually much higher, right? Because we also have confirmation that the trend based on the moving averages is actually pointing down. So we want to have the key thing is we want to buy when it is in an uptrend. But at least what we want to monitor for this particular counter is that we want to make sure at least it's moving sideways first, right? It's stabilizing. So what do I mean by that, right? At least if we are actually seeing some sideways consolidation and the 100 days and the 200 days moving average, right? This red and the blue line at least move sideways first, right? Sideways, or even better if it moves sideways and it can start to point back up, that would be even better, and it gives us more confirmation that potentially there could be some strength returning back into this counter, right? And the other confirmation that perhaps you might want to look out for would be another 1 GT bullish signal, right? And how do we actually see a 1 GT bullish signal? So if prices is actually able to break and hold, above this thing that I just turned on very quickly, which is our trailing support and resistance function right over here, right? So this is the 1 GT Pro indicator that I've mentioned earlier on that Joey developed. And this is where you can actually, with a click of a button, right, on, off, and this is where I can actually see this red and the green signals, the buy and the sell signals. And what I just did was I just turned on the trailing support and resistance function. And because what I've mentioned, right now the trend for this stock is actually in a downtrend, right? It's in a downtrend, and we can very clearly see that there is a trailing resistance line right over here, like this red shaded line. And this trailing resistance is actually derived from what we call average true range, right? Which then accounts for the stock's volatility, the stock's movement, right? So that's why there is some space between the candlestick and the trailing resistance line that gives that allows the stocks to have some breathing room and breathing space. So if prices is actually able to break a resistance level, is that a good thing? Yes, that's a good thing. Why? Because it means that buying pressure is actually returning, right? And price break a resistance turn to become what we call a support. So what we are looking for here is we want to have another confirmation, right? From the 1 GT bullish signal as well, and that can only happen if price can actually break and hold above the trailing resistance right over here. Okay, so back to David's question, right? Whether if you are thinking of buying at this point in time, I would say for now, don't rush in to buy at this point in time. Perhaps you want to monitor for more confirmations first. For more confirmation, number one would be the moving average, right? For it to actually move sideways, and then after that the price to actually break above this 140 psychological resistance before there is likelihood for this stock to actually move back upwards. All right, so that would be a very quick one for PepsiCo. I'll pass the time back over to Bervyn to actually cover the next stock.
Thanks, Z. All right, let's go quickly. Next stock. I think M is asking, AVGO seems to be on an uptrend. What are your thoughts? Great question. I like AVGO pretty much as well. I think we can see clearly on my screen right now, we have that 20 days moving average actually starting to point up, or has already been pointing up since April this year. We see that 100 days, 200 days moving average still sloping up slightly, just ever so slightly, with that 200 days a little bit more obvious. I think after Nvidia earnings, we tend to see companies in a similar sector actually start to push up a little bit higher themselves as well. But I think we still pretty much kept under that $250 resistance right here. It was a previous high, it tested once, twice, came close, 3 times, and then it started to push downwards. But I think as of right now, could we test it? Could we break it? I don't know. I don't know whether it will come close, break above it. But at least, if you are looking to take a little bit of a profit, reduce a little bit of exposure, take some profits and put in your pocket, enjoy the weekends. I think, yes, we are very close to a profit-taking level. It is completely okay and to take some profits, reduce a little bit of position, but keeping some of those positions to actually continue to ride that uptrend, especially if we see a break above this 150 level. Previously, I think that new support, or that support that was being found, was roughly around that 220 level. Around that 220 level, I'll place a support. So if prices were to go up, test that 250, come back down to that 220 level, I think that could be another opportunity for you to get back in as well. Nothing wrong to do that as well. Nobody say if you sell you cannot buy again. All right, so if I would just turn on that 1 GT signal very, very quickly. We see a 1 GT signal right here, right around that 10th of April. After that sell down had actually happened, see prices very, very quickly recovered back towards that above that 220 level. I think that was within a month or so. So I think so far so good. We like to see that break above that 250, but when will it happen? Hard to say right now. So then if prices break above that 250 level, I think another 1 GT bullish signal could appear as well. You know, something like here you would see to be another one here as well. So I think quite a few good moves above this 250 could send prices higher towards where I would say that projection up to at 280 level would be a very, very conservative one, especially if that 250 gives way. So I think if I were to turn on that trailing support and resistance very quickly, you can see that the trailing resistance is just slightly below that 220 level. So if you you are actually still holding AVGO, you want to protect some of those profits got in below that 220 level previously, I think placing a stop loss above that, just slightly below that trailing support would be a good way to protect those profits just in case prices start to head down again. All right, so I think for AVGO, a little bit more up move can be expected. A little bit of consolidation below the 250 first would be good. Yep. So I think I'll place an alert. You can just place an alert, right click, add alert, and just put in maybe say 252 to maybe represent a firm break above that 250 level. I think just to get alerted towards a new up phase for AVGO. All right, M. Okay, so that's a very quick one for AVGO. I'll pass the time back to Z to cover the next stock.
All right, thanks, Bervyn. Okay, so the next stock that I'll be covering, right, is by Yu Hui. Yu Hui is actually asking about A-Lab, right, whether is it losing steam. So actually, when I first come across this counter, it was actually introduced by Bervyn to me. So Bervyn was actually talking about this counter, but I think that was when he shared with me about this counter. That was somewhere last year. So let's take a look at what's actually happening now for this counter, all right? So for Yu Hui, I'm not too sure if you're still holding on to this stock, but or maybe perhaps it's in your watch list. But in terms of the trend-wise, right, I mean, for the 200 days moving average, the blue line is not that long. The green line right now, we can see that short-term wise, right? Short-term wise is definitely regaining strength as prices actually rebounded back up from the psychological $50 right over here, right? And right now it is trading at about 96 as of yesterday. And we do have a 1 GT bullish signal coming out right over here. Right, and we can also see, if I zoom in a little bit more, we can also see that the 20 days moving average has already crossed above the longer term moving average, which is the red and the blue line, and that is a good sign, right, in terms of the short term trend. But in terms of the longer term trend wise, right, I would say it is not that ideal at this point in time, because if you look at the 100 days moving average, is it still pointing down? Yes, it's actually still pointing down, right? But the blue line is actually going sideways. So ideally what we want to see is for all of these three, right, to actually showing signs of it actually pointing up, especially for the longer term trend, for it to have more potential towards the targets as right over here, which is the resistance, right? Maybe perhaps if we are able to see the longer term trends have shown signs of it turning back up, right, potentially prices might head back towards the resistance at this 150 right over here. But in terms of immediate resistance, we can actually spot one resistance right over here, which is near this 110, right, psychological level right over here, because this was where the price actually broke down below, and we also get a 1 GT bearish signal. But not too bad, because right now we actually do have a 1 GT bullish signal coming out. But I think at this point in time, if you're thinking about buying, you're in the middle of nowhere, right? Because you are not either near a support, you are just in the middle between a support and a resistance. I would say perhaps if you're thinking about perhaps entering, right, that would be somewhere near the support level, which is near this support level right over here. And if you're thinking about selling, it would definitely maybe you can sell some of your positions, half of your positions, somewhere near the resistance right over here, right over here. But definitely I would like to see more confirmation in terms of the longer term trend, for likelihood of the price, right, to actually head back up towards these 150. Okay, so that will be a very quick one for A-Lab. I will pass the time back to Bervyn to actually cover the next stock.
Thanks, Z. Okay. Let me see. Okay, we got Damien. Damien, good morning, Damien. May I get your advice on Williams Company? Okay. Bought at $60 some time ago. Not sure where it will go. Thanks in advance. Thank you for being so kind with your words. Okay, let's see. Let me just put up my chart here. All right. Okay. So let me just clear up a little bit of my drawings. I have some analysis done on this previously. I think very, very clearly, Damien, we are seeing a little bit of a consolidation phase as prices just hit up and down, up and down, up and down for Williams Company. I think that upside or the upside towards the 62 and a half level is still pretty much being capped. I think the resistance at 62 and a half still there, and that support at about 52 and a half is also still in play. So I think these are the two levels that I think we'll be watching very, very closely. I think it came close here. These are 52 and a half level tested quite a few times as well. But I think in the nearer term, we see that 20 days moving average just pushing a little bit higher as prices attempt to head towards that 62 and a half level again, right around your entry price right now. So unfortunately, this company doesn't seem to be giving dividends. Let me just confirm. If you want to check on dividends, you can do it. Oh, they actually gave quite a few dividends, but I think after taxes, it is not very significant as well. Yeah, so right around then we want to actually watch out for any bullish candlesticks, I would say. Any bullish candlesticks near the 62 and a half level would be a good sign that, a little bit of momentum coming in there, a little bit of momentum coming in where, actually we can see a new phase for Williams Company. But if we see any bearish candles, then you want to be a little bit more cautious. A little bit more cautious being said why. It could be signs that this 62 and a half level still being respected, and then we tend to see profit taking coming in at this level as well. So I think you shouldn't be looking to buy more at this point because I think we are right around your entry price already. Ideally, we want to try to buy closer to a support level, but I think in the nearer term, we can find like a temporary support just around that 55 level. 55 to 56 level, I think that is where I would place like a temporary support. Prices have rebounded from this level, consolidated close to this level as well for about a month or so before that attempt to push higher. So I think let me just turn on that 1 GT signals. All right, we have that 1 GT bearish signal still in play actually. Do not have a 1 GT bullish signal. Okay, so that is technically not a good sign, but as you can notice within like a consolidation phase, you tend to see 1 GT bearish, bullish, bearish, bullish, bearish coming in. That is a sign that you tend to see prices consolidating, multiple signals in and out as prices are pretty much just kept within this range. So if we want to see or we see some profit taking coming back towards this level, I think Damien, what you can do is actually just have that trailing support and resistance up. We want to see prices break above that trailing resistance, and if prices head back towards that support level, breaking below it, I think you want to be a little bit more cautious as well. You could actually take a small profit close to that 62 level first, and we see any bearish or see any profit taking coming in back towards that 55 level, I think that's where another entry for you could be good as well. Why would I say that sell first and buy back again? It is because that longer term moving average is still looking good at this point. So if you are intending to have this as a longer term position, could try to reposition yourself as well. All right. So we are not seeing much movement at this point. Not much movement at this point. But if that 62 and a half level gives way, say the next immediate resistance will be about the $68 level. So I've previously also set up some alerts for this Williams Company. If prices cross the $63, I want to be alerted. I want to come in to check out if we see any bullish movement or any bullish price actions coming in as well. All right, so that's a very quick one for Williams Company. Passing the time back to Z now.
All right, thanks, Bervyn. Okay, let me just share my screen. Okay, so I think the next one that I'll be covering will be Bank of America, right? Because I think Hoki is actually asking whether can long Bank of America. So you're thinking about buying Bank of America. So at first glance, with just the 1GT Pro indicator turned on, whereby I just click turn on this buy and sell signals, right? Right over here, you actually do see two consecutive 1GT bullish signal, right? That's a good thing, right? But the thing about this 1GT Pro indicator that I want to share with you guys is that we don't just like see, oh, okay, immediately I see that there's a 1GT bullish signal, I straight away buy, right? We still have to go through, what we call a 7-steps checklist, right? We have a 7-step 1GT checklist as well as our risk management checklist, right? That we usually actually go through in depth before we actually decide, whether we actually want to buy or sell, a certain stocks, right? And to find out more about that, perhaps you can actually also attend, one of Joey's upcoming free webinar, whereby he will share more in depth about his one good trend strategy and framework, and that's where you can actually learn more about it. All right. So I think Bervyn will actually put the link in the chat for you guys to join if you guys are keen. So with regards to this Bank of America, right? So let's take a look at the trend. Okay. So when we first talk about the trend, in terms of short-term trend, we are able to see that the green line, 20 days moving average, short-term trend definitely looking great, pointing up, right? Broken above the longer-term moving average. That's great. That's great. And in terms of longer-term trend, it's not too bad. It's decent, right? At least it is not pointing down. It's pointing sideways. It's not pointing down, right? So then we actually look at where are the very key support and resistance level, right? So first thing first, resistance level, it is very clear that this 48, it is actually one of the key resistance level, right? Why? Because right over here, prices neared it somewhere in December last year, and somewhere over here as well, prices actually neared it in January and February, and then that is where selling pressure came back in, push prices back down, and we also do see multiples 1GT bearish signal coming out, right? So this would actually 48, I would say, would be one of the resistance level that perhaps Hoki, you might want to take note of, this 48 resistance level. And in terms of the support level, right over here, I think somewhere near this, like 43, right? 43, 43.50, this level right over here is actually one of the immediate support level that we can actually take note of, right? Because right over here in July, it was actually a resistance, right? It actually broke above, held above it, sellers came back in, pushed prices back down, but prices managed to kind of hold above this 43 level, right? Before it actually broke down here, it actually broke down here, then prices actually went back to retest this somewhere in March, but unable to break above it, right? And right now, price is actually trading above this 43, right? After, testing it again right over here a couple of weeks back. So right now, price is actually, last night it closed as of 44.24 right over here, and it's actually holding above this 43 support level. So in terms of, thinking about potential entry, right? One of the potential entry that perhaps you can actually think about would be, to place some price alerts, right? Right over here near the support zone, right? Near the support zone, okay? Right over here. But of course, when you're actually doing that, you also do have to have, like, a trading plan and things like that, right? So that is where we can actually make use of this function called the trailing support and resistance function, which I've turned on earlier, right? So this trailing support resistance function, like what I mentioned, it actually shows you where the trailing support is. So if prices is actually moving up, the trailing support will actually moves up along together with the price, right? And it gives the price, it gives the stock some breathing space, right? Some breathing space for the stock to actually move, right? So if the stock actually broke below the trailing support right over here, we can see that a 1GT bearish signal is actually triggered, right? And that's not so good, because when price break below a support, given that you have already give the stock room to breathe, it's not that great, right? It's not that great. So that being said, that is the trailing support function, right? So sorry, I digressed a bit. So coming back to this, right? So I was talking about this in terms of the this rectangular box, in terms of the potential zone of entries that perhaps you might want to set some price alert. But after entering is one thing, right? What about exiting, right? Exiting, so like I've mentioned, near the resistance is where we can potentially actually sell some stocks, right? Sell partial of your position, one third of your position, to actually take some partial profits, right? So if prices is actually able to hold and break above, hold and move up towards this 48 level, right? This is where we can potentially take some profits. But of course, do also manage your downside, whereby with the 1GT, this trailing support function, right? This is where we can actually use it to actually gauge like where can we actually potentially place our trailing stop order, right? No, not trailing stop order, our stop limit order to protect our downside based on the trailing support function. Okay, so then that would actually gives you a more comprehensive trading plan in terms of whether you can actually long and short, where's your entry, where's your exit, and where's your stop loss, right? So to find out a bit more about this in depth, because like we mentioned, we don't have time to cover much very in depth today, but this is just a very, very quick summary of it, right? Just attend one of the free webinar, right? I think the next one is actually on the 10th of June by Joey, and you will be able to actually find out more about the one good trend strategy and framework more in depth. All right. So that would be for Bank of America. I'll pass the time back over to Bervyn to actually cover the next stock.
Thanks, Z. All right, let's see. I think Vincent was asking this morning, Intelia Therapeutics dropped 20% last night. What's our thoughts on this? All right, let me just pull it up very quickly. Right here we have Intelia Therapeutics. Not too sure what the company does, but based on the name, I believe they are in healthcare. I think not too sure whether it's AI healthcare or what is it about. But from just the looks of it, we can see that the 100 days, 200 days moving average definitely not pointing up lah. We cannot bluff ourselves. The blue line, the red line is pointing down. Cannot say it's up. All right, so we tend to see the longer term trend not looking too good. And one thing that stands out also as well, got that lower highs actually forming. Lower highs actually forming over the past few months already. Not too good. Signs that are reaffirming that downtrend that is actually being played out as well. So in the nearer term, yes, we see that 20 days moving average had pointed up since late of April, but as of yesterday, it had started to point down already. I think that temporary support, the immediate support level will be around that $6 psychological level. Vincent, I think we want to watch out for this level. I'm not too sure if you currently have positions in Intelia, but I think if this level is actually broken, I think we may see more downside as that downtrend could continue to play out. We tend to not buy, so I think if anybody is thinking of buying Intelia Therapeutics, I will not recommend it as of now. We want to actually see a little bit more stabilization in the stocks going forward. First, we want to see that 100 days, 200 days moving average flattening out that 100 days moving average, taking or crossing above that 200 days moving average as well to confirm a longer term reversal before actually getting in. We want to trade with the trend without with not trading against it. All right. So I think in the nearer term as well, I think that $10 psychological level is a good one to watch out for as well. So I think if prices are able to take a break above that $10 level, we may see that 100 days moving average start to actually flatten out and start to point up already, and that 200 days doing the same as well. So I think if I were to just very, very quickly turn on the buy and sell signals, we have a 1 GT bearish signal. She coming in last night. Why? Because that trailing support was actually broken. Look right here. You got that trailing support right around that $7.30 level. Prices actually closed below that trailing support. So that 1 GT bearish signal is still valid. So as you can see, across the past few months, since August of last year, 1 GT bearish, 1 GT bearish, 1 GT bullish immediately being cancelled out by that 1 GT bearish signal. Prices started to head lower. So I think very, very clearly, if that $6 level is not able to hold, we may see another 1 GT bearish signal actually come in as well as prices hit lower. So like that, what Z have done just now, you can also do like a projection downwards. So I mean very clearly that downside towards that below that $4, even that $2 level could be possible if that $6 or that $6 psychological level does not hold. All right, so I think Vincent, I think just be a little bit more careful. I mean, I hope you have a plan to stop your losses if you're actually holding. If you haven't actually bought yet, I would not recommend to buy it as of right now. We want to wait for a little bit more, wait for that confirmation of the reversal into an uptrend before getting in. All right, so that's for Intellia Therapeutics. Back to you, Z.
All right, thanks, Bervyn. Okay, so I think I'll be covering GLD, right, as the next stock, because I think JJ is actually asking GLD is slow, right? Can you also look at Google? Maybe one of the stocks that we can look at maybe could be Google as well. But GLD, I want to cover GLD is because this is actually one of the bonus stock that we actually covered a couple weeks back, right, under our AMS session as well. But so far, looking at GLD, right, if we just purely look at the trend itself, the trend for gold, right, the long-term trend, uptrend for gold is actually still very firmly intact with, the 100 days and 200 days moving average is actually still heading up, right? Still actually heading up. But in terms of the short-term trend, if I were to zoom in a little bit, we can actually see that the short-term trend based on the 20 days moving average is actually flattening out, right? It's actually flattening out. So I wouldn't say it's bad or it's slow, but it's just at this point in time, if we take reference, right, from the 1GT pro indicator, we do see a 1GT bearish indicator right over here, right, on the 14th of May. And remember why this signal actually came out? I will just turn on this trailing support and resistance function very quickly. And this 1GT bearish signal came out because price actually closed below the trailing support on this very day. But what we actually witnessed for the next few weeks, right, after this 1GT bullish signal came out, is that there is actually strength returning back to gold, right, because of perhaps uncertainty, especially in the markets, right, with Trump's decisions and things like that. So we are actually seeing volatility coming back to the market, and gold is actually one of the safe haven that people usually want to go into, especially when the market is actually not certain, right? And this is where we actually see over the past few weeks, prices actually rebound back up, right? And it actually hits higher back towards this trailing resistance line. It's actually inching back up. So that is actually a good sign in terms of the short-term trend, right? So I think at this point in time, right now, definitely 300 right over here, right? As you can see, I've placed a dotted line. I would say 300 is one of the psychological support that perhaps you might want to take note of or set some price alert. And what I would do here for Google is also right click to set, apart from price alert that I'm talking about, I will add an alert, and I would want to add a 1GT alert, right? Both buy and sell, right? Once per bar. And that's it, great, right? So what this does is that it will actually alert me if there is another 1GT bullish signal coming out. So hence, with a new 1GT bullish signal coming out, and that will actually gives you more confirmation on the uptrend as well, right? So if prices, is able to, if it consolidates, that is no problem, right? Because if we actually do see consolidation in a longer term uptrend, right, the uptrend, like what we mentioned here, is still firmly intact, and we see some consolidation before price actually breaking higher, actually that will be a fantastic thing to actually see, because it then makes the uptrend actually sustainable. So if I were to see, sideways consolidation like this, right, before it actually breaks out above the 320 resistance right over here, that's definitely a good thing, right? It's a good thing. So at this point in time, for GLD, right? For GLD, I would say right near this level, right over here, right over here near the $300 psychological support, right over here, right. This could be one of the potential zone of entry that perhaps you might want to think about accumulating on the dips if prices were to actually dip back to that level. But of course, do remember to have your trading plan in place. And right now, immediate resistance, like I've mentioned, is somewhere around this 320 psychological level, whereby we might see some profit taking actually returning. All right. So that would be for gold. Pass the time back to you, Bervyn, to actually cover the next US stock.
Thanks, Z. All right, let's go quickly. I think ST. IST. So is BIDUR. I am thinking you are referring to Pi 2. Is it a good time to accumulate? So I will just go ahead to cover Pi 2. But if it's not the correct stock, please let me know. I think okay. So for Pi 2, it is actually a Chinese a tech company. Watched by many. I think their earnings just came out, but forecast isn't too good, so that's why actually the prices actually came down. What actually stands out is there are spikes in actually the prices, but I think in overall, if we look at it at the bigger picture, we tend to see, or I'm still seeing that longer term moving average, that 200 days, that blue line, and that 100 days, that red line, is pretty much just moving sideways. But that blue line is above that red line. All right, so I think still not too good. So if we just zoom out a little bit for now, you can see that it actually previously came down from a high of about 160-ish in 2023 right now to under that $100 level. So the immediate support, I think I'll place about the $80 level. I think just right under it, we have another support about the $75 level. That these are the immediate two supports, or you can call it like a range, that range, support range to actually look out for as well. So I think we got that 20 days moving average showing a little bit of a weakness. After pointing up for about 2 weeks or so, it had started to point down again. So, buyers not able to gain much controls over the past 2 weeks. Sellers actually started to come back in again. So with that immediate resistance placed around that $95 to about that $100 level, I would say right now it looks like prices are in a downward consolidation phase, not a sign to be buying immediately as of now lah. ST. So we want to not bluff ourselves thinking that hey, can buy cheap, then what happen if it breaks below, it gets cheaper. I think it's okay. It is okay to buy at a premium, as long as we get a little bit more confirmations coming in. But as of right now, we are in a little bit of like a no man's zone. As of now, we want to wait for that 20 days moving average. I think for sure to actually just flatten out a little bit first, start to point up, maybe perhaps go over the 100 and 200 days moving average, head towards that $100 range. I think you are in a much better position to get in if prices are able to break above that $100 level. Paying a little bit more for sure. But if prices are able to break above that $100 level, I can tell you that 100 days, 200 days moving average will start to slope up as well. Gives you a little bit more conviction about the trade at the same time lah. So if volatility kicks in, I think you will be a bit more okay as well emotionally. I think if we were to draw that upside, I think the upside to 120 would definitely be in play again if that $100 level gives way. But I think ST, as of now, I think just set up some alerts. Above that $100 level to just get yourself alerted if we are able to get back into a uptrend first. But I think right now, ST, we got that one GT bearish signal still in play. Don't want to immediately just rush in as well. So I think all signs point to not buying it, not getting in, not rushing in. Although yes, prices are cheaper. That is a fact we cannot deny. But I think we just have to wait for a little bit more confirmations on the trade at the same time. All right. Okay. So that's a quick one for Pai2 listed on Nasdaq. I think now I'll pass the time back to Z to cover the next stock for you guys.
All right. Thanks, Bervyn. Okay, let me just share my screen. Okay, so I think the next stock that I'll be covering, right, will be Philip Morris. So Jimmy is actually asking about Philip Morris, right? And you bought, Philip Morris at 164.72. How far can this stock move? So I believe this stock is actually also one of the stock, Bervyn, that you actually covered, right, as one of your bonus stock, I think couple of sessions ago. So let's take a look at this stock, because I think this stock is definitely still in our watch list. It's definitely still one of the very, very good uptrending stock that we are still actually looking at, because if we just turn off everything, right, I just give you this 3-line red, green and blue, you will definitely tell me that this stock is actually still looking fantastic in terms of its uptrend. Its uptrend is definitely still intact. Short-term trend, long-term trend, both aligning, that's the best, right? And right now, based on this, right, we actually do see a 1GT, bullish signal right over here, right, on the 23rd of April. And right now, there is still no 1GT bearish exit yet, right? And prices is actually testing this, what we call a psychological level at 180, right? 180. So if you're bought at 164, now price is at 177, I'm pretty sure you are sitting on profits already. And the question is, when should you exit, right? Because you want to maximize your profits, right? You want to maximize your profits. So the thing is that if you do decide to actually sell off some position, some partial position near the 180 psychological level, maybe 1/3 of your position, half of your position. Let the balance continue to ride the uptrend, especially so when the uptrend that we are looking at right now is still firmly intact. That is also fine, right? Because when you actually sell some stock near the psychological resistance or near a resistance level, right, there is nothing wrong with that, because when you actually do that as well, you are actually realizing your profits and putting the money in your pocket while continue to let the balance of your position to ride the uptrend, right? That is fine. That is fine. So what I'm saying right over here, right, 180, that is one level that you can actually consider to take some profits, right? And use the balance of your position. And if prices were to break this level, right, potentially where can we see price head towards? That will be near this 200 psychological level. The targets that we have drawn, right, will be right over here near the 200 level, right? So this is, this is one of the psychological level where perhaps it is likely for us to actually see some profit taking returning back at this 200, right? And if I were to turn on, right, if I were to turn on this thing called the trailing support once again, let's see. Okay, so right over here, right, we can also see that the trailing support has been following prices up, right? And I think when you have bought it, it is right near the trailing support right over here. And that is great, right? That is great. That is what we are actually looking for when we are looking for potential zones of entry as well, because this is one of the ways whereby you can actually utilize the trailing support function, to actually help you to position yourself for entry, set some price alert. And that's where you can actually position yourself for entry and ride the uptrend, because as what I've mentioned, right, trading supports follow the prices as it continues to move up. And when the stock is in an uptrend, we want to buy the stock near the support level. Okay, so Jimmy, I hope that helps in terms of some of the levels for you to take note. Right over here, right over here, 180, this is where the immediate resistance is at, right? As we can see over the past 3 days, selling pressure comes in and push price back down a little. It's currently testing the 180, right? But otherwise, if prices is breaking and holding firmly above the 180, potential upside target that we're looking at would be the $200 psychological level. Okay, Jimmy, that would be for PM. I'll pass the time back over to Bervyn to cover the next stock.
Thanks, Zee. All right. Okay. Hi, Styler. Nice to see you every week. Here we go. We got TSM sold half at 170. Should I sell the rest at 200 or wait for a little closer to 220 average cost about $100? Thanks. All right. Thanks for the information. I think, we got plenty of information there. Let's see. Right here on my screen, we have TSM, Taiwan Semiconductor Company. I think your question is very, very valid, because I think prices are very close to their resistance. I think that's why you are asking this question, very close to that psychological $200 level. Yep, and it actually came up from that sell down early April. Pretty quickly take over that 160 level. We see a 1 GT bullish signal actually coming back in. Prices not really consolidating much under that 180 level before actually pushing higher. So I think in the nearer term, let's use that $180 level as a temporary support. I think prices have actually tested this level quite a few times right here. I think these are a good level to watch out for. We got that 100 days and 200 days moving average showing a little bit of signs of like a convergence like that. I mean, very close to each other. Where we see that 100 days moving average start to go up, I think that is very, very dependent on if we are able to once again take that $200 or break that $200 resistance level and head towards that next resistance of about 220 to that 225 level. So I think, yes, these are the key resistance level. I think Styler, so you are actually also watching this level. So I think so far, I think prices are showing, or the signs are pointing towards that, yes, we may test that $200 level. Will it break? I don't think anybody can let you know, but I think for sure if they break their upside towards that 220 level, possible. Will it break this week? Don't know. Next week? Don't know. Next month? Don't know. Will it come down? I also don't know. But I think the best thing for you to do right now would be to actually just turn on your trailing support and resistance level. We got that trailing support heading up as prices are heading up, as you have also mentioned, very, very close to that 180 level. So previously I sold some at 170. So I think having like a stop limit order following that trailing support would be a good way to let you get that continued exposure. Yes, you are sacrificing a little bit of profits, but I think you are in a good position because previously you have took some profits at that 170 level already. So you can afford to actually, continue to have that exposure. Just have that trailing support in place, that stop limit order just moving alongside that trailing support, just protecting and continuing to get the exposure, because the last thing you want is, as of right now, we don't see any bearish candlestick, don't see any bullish candlestick, so it's a bit hard to say if sellers are going to be taking control at that $200 level. So by having a trailing support, a trailing stop loss using stop limits order shifted daily, maybe you need to shift it daily to actually help you to protect your profits. I think that is one way we can continue to ride that uptrend, because so right now 20 days moving average still pointing up at the same time. May see a little bit more momentum coming in as well. So I think so far so good, Styler. I don't think you need to take any immediate action. Continue to monitor. I hope you have some alerts being set up. That 1 GT signal. I think just right click. You can set up a 1 GT buy yourself signal to get yourself alerted on that chart as well. When you receive those notifications come in, change your stop limit order accordingly. Right now, you are in a good position. All right. Okay, so there's a very quick one for TSM. Pass the time back to Z.
All right, thanks, Bervyn. Okay, so the next stock that I think I'll be covering will be by Phyllis, right? Phyllis is asking about Netflix. What's a good price to enter Netflix on a pullback? But before I dive into Netflix, right, I just want to recap some of the stocks, right, that we have covered so far, because I think this would be the 12 stocks that we are covering. So we have done 6 rounds already. So this is the 12th stock. We'll try to cover 20 stocks today, if we are able to, right? If you are able to push faster for the second half of it, right? So the first stock, okay, before the first stock, I think Bervyn actually covered the market, which is SPX, right? S&P 500 and the Dow Jones Index. And the first stock that Bervyn actually covered is CoreWeave, and the code is CRWV, right? So for those of you who have been asking some of the stocks that we have already covered before, we will not cover them again, but not to worry, because after this entire session ends, this video will be live. This video will be available on YouTube for you to actually watch the replay, okay? So first stock that Bervyn covered is CoreWeave, followed by Pepsi, PEP, and then AVGO, Broadcom. And then the next one, the fourth stock is ALAB, ALAB, and followed by WMB, Williams Company, BAC, INTLA, and then Go, GLD, then Baidu, BIDU, that's the ninth stock, followed by PM, Philip Morris, right, which is the 10th stock. And the 11th stock that Bervyn just covered was TSM, okay, TSM. So now for the 12th stock, I'll be covering for Netflix, okay? So for Phyllis, your question is, what is a good price to enter Netflix on a pullback, right? So let me just turn this off first, okay? So for Netflix, I mean, very clearly from the trend itself, this is an uptrending stock. We have a 2 consecutive 1 GT bullish signal right over here. And over the past couple of days and weeks, we have been seeing price retesting this 1,200 psychological resistance right now, and it still seems like it's unable to break firmly and hold above this level, right? So you are thinking of potentially entering this stock, and where would be a good place to enter? So first thing first, we always look at horizontal support and resistance, right? So very clearly right over here near this 1,050 to about 1,060 right over here, we actually have a support level, right? The support level, because previously why this was actually a resistance, before we see a 1 GT bearish signal, selling pressure came back in, right? This was where prices actually broke above this 1,060 level right over here. So in terms of buying in an uptrend, right, we want to buy near a support. This could be one of the levels for you to actually set some price alert, right? And then to notify you, like let's just create one right now, okay, to set a price alert, maybe at this 1075 right over here, create, and that will actually alert me, right? Like right over here, you can see that this alert is created. So if prices were actually retracing back to this potential zone of entry, this is where I'll be alerted and actually log in to actually monitor the stocks again. Okay, so this is number one. And the other area that we want to see and monitor for potential zone of entry is to use this trailing support right over here. So as we can see, the trailing support has been moving upwards, right? It has been going up as the price moves up, it trails the prices. And we can see that this trailing support right over here is near this 1,000 and 1,120 right over here, right? So another potential zone of entry that we can potentially look at would be near the trailing support, which is right over here, right over here. So this is where we can also set another price alert. So let's just do it again one more time. Maybe let me just set it at 1130, right? 1130 every time. Great. So this will actually alerts me when price actually retrace right back to this 1130. And this is where I'll be alerted, and I will want to go into my trading view to actually take a look at the stock again, right? So this could be two potential zone of entry if you are thinking about going into Netflix on a pullback, right? Especially so when the uptrend, the longer term uptrend, the red and the blue line is actually still firmly intact. And if prices were to, the next couple of days, right, or weeks, if prices is actually able to test and break above this 1,200 firmly, we must be able to hold firmly and break above this level. Potential upside targets that we are looking at, right, is actually towards, based on the projection. Now, if I do a simple projection upwards, perhaps it's somewhere around this 1,340, 350. But I would say because, $1,300, right, $1,300 right over here, it's actually a psychological resistance. So perhaps this is where we can also potentially see some selling pressure returning near the 1,300 level first before it actually push even higher. Okay, so Phyllis, I hope that these are some of the levels that perhaps you have already taken note of. And this is where you can, potentially position yourself for entry in an uptrend near a support level. Okay, so that will be for Netflix. I'll pass the time back to Bervyn.
Thanks, Zee. All right. Huck is asking. Huck, very never see the name before, so welcome if it's the first time. So Micron, please purchase at $80. So wondering to take profits or not. So you bought at $80. All right. Let me just throw it up on the screen. Okay, since I have that 1GT bullish signal that is already here, let me just do a quick analysis. All right, so we got that 1GT bullish signal, still very much present or still very much valid at this point. We have prices, heading higher towards the $100 psychological level for now. I think this is why you're probably thinking of whether you want to take profits to closer to this level. Nothing wrong. If you want to actually take some profits, I think we are in that selling zone as well. But that 20 days moving average is pointing up, just crossed above that 100 days moving average. So I think that continued momentum, we could see prices break above that $100 level, heading towards that 112 level that has previously tested as well. I think we saw a little bit of a downtrend forming for Micron in the last month or so, but I think we are back to that key levels to actually watch out for. So right now, I think in the immediate support, would be about that $85 level. I'll place it about the $85 level in the nearer term. So we are on the higher end of that consolidation or that potential consolidation range. So like I've said, nothing wrong to take profits. Maybe what you can consider is to actually reduce a little bit of exposure, take some profits, maybe half, maybe 1/3, depending on your position. How big is your current position? You may leave yourself some room for a little bit more exposure, for more upside. I think we are at a starting or at a phase where you could start to see the 100 days moving average pointing up next as prices try to push higher, crossing above that 200 days moving average. That could be a sign that a firm longer term uptrend is forming and there could be more upside. So what I'll do is I think I would place an alert to let myself know that prices have firmly break above that $100 psychological level. So maybe about 102 would be good. So just to let yourself be notified that yes, we are in a new phase. But here's the thing, because you have bought at about $80, you may be able to protect some of those profits already. All right, so you see right here that trailing support, that trailing support is right around the $85. So placing a stop loss just below it, maybe about $84 like that, could help you to preserve some of those, some of your capital or some of your profits as well. Yes, that profits will be greatly reduced, but the last thing we want is for prices to head down and you are suddenly sitting on a profits and suddenly you are sitting on losses and feel a little bit stuck then. Right, so by having that stop loss or that trailing stop loss just below that trailing support, maybe 84, 85 level, I think that could be a good way to preserve your capital and give yourself or let yourself get out even with profits if that nearer term trend reverses not in your favor. All right, so I think a very quick one for Micron. Passing the time back to Z now.
All right, thanks, Bervyn. Okay, I think we are doing this a little bit faster right now because we are trying to aim to cover as many stocks as possible for you guys, okay? So let me just share my screen. Okay, so I think the next stock that I'll be covering is Costco, right? SC is actually asking, can still get into Costco? It has been trending up. Yes, you are absolutely right, SC, that Costco has been trending up. But I think since the start of the year, right, 2025, it has kind of been going up and down sideways. But generally, long-term trend, right? Long-term trend is still looking great. It is still heading up, right? And what we can see over here is that, yesterday price actually closed at 1,008, right? 1,008. And right over here, we have actually drawn a support at the 1,000 level because 1,000 level is actually a psychological level, right? And remember what I've mentioned earlier on, I feel like a broken record sometimes because I always mention, you only want to buy when the stock is actually in an uptrend. And where do we want to buy? You want to buy near a support. So same thing applies here, right? So sorry that if I'm broken record, but that is what our team believe in, and that is part of the one good trend strategy as well. So just another reminder, right, that if you want to learn more about this strategy, feel free to attend one of the webinar by Joey upcoming on the 10th of June, and I believe the link is already in the chat. Okay, so back to Costco, right? Back to Costco. Can you still get in? So same thing. Right now, price closed at 1,008, and it is very, very near the psychological support. So I would say definitely right over here, right? We are currently in the potential zone of entry, right? We are currently in the potential zone of entry. As long as price is actually able to hold above this 1,000 psychological level, right? Potential upside targets, right, that we are actually looking at is actually towards this 1,080 right here first for the initial target. Why? Because back in February, this was where we actually saw selling pressure return, and subsequently we do see a 1GT bearish signal come out and another one. And this is one of the key levels, right? The 880 levels right over here, where buying pressure come back in to support the prices, especially so when we see candlestick with long lower shadow. So like I've mentioned, if you want to know a bit more about the candlesticks and things like that, it's a bit more in depth. That's where you can actually attend one of the free webinars. All right. So prices actually rebounded back up from this 880 level. So this is one of the levels that at SC, perhaps you might want to set some price alert as well, or maybe draw this level in your chart for the key support, right? And immediate support, like I've mentioned, it would be the $1,000 psychological level. So this is one of the zones that we can potentially look at to position ourselves for entry. And secondly, we can make use again of this trailing support function right over here. So some might be asking, how come the psychological support is at 1,000 but the trailing support is like lower? Because like what I've mentioned earlier on, the trailing support gives the stock room to breathe, right? It accounts for the stock volatility. Hence, there is some space given between the trailing support and the candlestick. So it allows the stock room to actually breathe, right? So the other potential zone of entry, for people who are still thinking, hey, it's still a bit high. I wanna wait for the price to actually pull back a little more before entering. The other potential zone of entry that we can potentially look at would be around this level right over here. So it would be slightly above this trading support, which is currently about 960, right? So the next level could be around 960 to about this 980 level right over here. Because as long as price is actually holding above the trailing support, right, is still decent, especially so if it gives us confirmation, if the moving averages give us further confirmation that all three moving averages are actually still heading up. Okay, so SC, I hope that helped. There are some of the levels that perhaps you can take note. Back to you, Bervyn, for the next stop.
Thanks, Z. All right, let's go. I think what's the next one I want to cover? I think I saw something right here. All right, okay, Jimmy. is Palantir hitting resistance? You can tell me now, where is the support level? I bought the share for about a year ago. All right. Okay, let me just change my Palantir. First thing first, Jimmy, congratulations. I think if you had bought a year ago, you're sitting on some very, very tidy profits already. All right, so let me just clear all of my drawings right here, turn off this. I think what pops up is we got 1 GT bearish, a bullish signal, bullish signal coming right in. The immediate resistance, yes, I think, yes, you're right. We had just hit a resistance, a new resistance level of 130. 130. See a little bit of profit taking coming back in. I think over the last few days, it has been consolidating under this 130 level. A little bit of sellers, a little bit of profit taking coming in. I think a lot of people like yourself, if you have been holding for a while, you are thinking of taking profits already. Yep, but I think the nearer term support, still stands, or that firm support still stands at about $100 level. At that $100 level, I think we're looking for a little bit of a closer term support, a temporary support. You could find it around that 122, 120 level. I think that is a very, very near-term support. We do not know whether it will hold. Hasn't been tested much, just about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days so far. But we have that 1 GT bullish signal still in play. So I think you can continue to watch for Palantir. I think if buyers or if prices come back down towards the $100 level, there would definitely should be buyers coming in, to accumulate on that dips as well. So I think the past few quarters have been very, very good for Palantir. I think since last year they turned a profit. I think they have been stably very, very, very pretty much growing their margins at this point. So I think a lot of people are still very bullish about Palantir, but because prices, if you have noticed, don't really consolidate much. If it pushes up very quickly, and with a lot of like a momentum at the same time. So definitely volatility a little bit higher for Palantir compared to the rest of the US market in general. But with that being said, I think if we turn on that trailing support, you could definitely see that range, that space. Z have mentioned that it takes into account the volatility of the stock. That's why there's a breathing room. You can see that the breathing room for Palantir is comparatively wider as you can compare for most other stocks at the same time. So with that trailing support right around that 105 level, the temporary support about that 120 level, I think if we are able to break above that 130 level, I think that's when we can see another 1 GT bullish signals. All right, I don't think you're still in a pretty good position right now. You can continue to ride on that momentum. Right, you are given that space to actually maximize your profit, because you have actually maybe bought at a rather a low price, and prices have actually pushed up higher and higher. Continue to use that trailing support, maybe just placing that stop limit order below that 103 level or that 102 level. I think that those levels, if it continues to hold, I think can see upside. I think if you are thinking about where's the next upside, if you were to just draw 100 to 130, I think that 160 level, about that 160, maybe 150 with a little bit of a psychological resistance. But I think the upside can be drawn to 160 if that momentum continues and we see more 1 GT bullish signals coming in along the way as well. So very quick one. All right, Jimmy, for Palantir, just take note of those key levels, set up your stop limit orders, protect those profits that you have been sitting on already. All right, passing the time back to Z to cover the next stock.
Okay, thanks, Bervyn. All right, so the next stock, okay, so the next stock that I'll be covering, I think, is by Ong MK, right? Ong MK168. It is gonna be Mara, right? So you are mentioning that you are holding Mara, bought around 15. Should you hold further? So my question is, I'm not too sure where you actually bought Mara at 15, because 15, this level, let's say my cursor here is about $15, right? If you have bought here, well, probably at some point in time you'll be sitting on profits. You have bought here, some point in time, a couple of months later, you're also sitting on profits, right? So then right now, probably price is slightly below your entry price, right? And then yeah, the key thing is, right, the key thing I want to bring across is that we always want to have a trading plan in place, right? Whenever you buy into a stock. And what do I mean by trading plan is to have your entry price, exit price, and stop loss price. That will encompass your trading plan. But there's only one portion of it, right? Because we also do want to think about risk management, right? The position sizing and things like that. So with regards to Mara, right, whether should you actually hold further, I'm not too sure what is your initial trading plan when you first enter this stock, but maybe let me cover some of the key levels that perhaps you can potentially take note and set some price alerts on. Okay, so right now, as of yesterday, we actually saw price for Mara actually close at 14.61, right, 14.61, and we do have a 1 GT bullish signal right over here on the 9th of May. But again, right, to recap and to reiterate, for those of you here who are here for the first time and you are seeing this 1 GT Pro indicator for the first time, whenever we actually see a 1 GT bullish signal or 1 GT bearish signal, it doesn't mean that, oh, when I see the buy signal, immediately I go and place a buy order to buy. Or when I see a bearish signal, immediately I go and place a sell order. No, it doesn't work like that, right? Because we still have to take a look at the bigger picture. How does it play into context of the entire trend? So right now, if we do see a 1 GT bullish signal, it means that there is more strength returning to this counter, right? There's nothing wrong. When the longer term trend is down, sometimes, buying pressure will still come in to push the price back up. But what we want to see here and what we want to have when we actually buy into a stock is that we want to ensure that both the short term and the long-term trend are both up and heading in the same direction. So if I were to zoom in a little bit right over here, and we look at the trend in terms of the moving average, we are actually seeing that, the blue line, red line, and the green line, they are all kind of like just flattening out, right? They are just flattening out, which is not too bad, right? Which is not too bad. At least they are not pointing down, right? At least they are not pointing down. So back to MKI, I'm not too sure where is your stop loss and where is your targets, right? But based on the levels that we have drawn right over here, one of the immediate support level would be at this psychological $14, right? Following the next one will be about $12, and the bottom, right, the bottom right over here is at about this $10 right over here. So there is three support levels, I would say, right beneath this current price at this point in time. So if prices were to break the very initial $14, right, then potentially we might see more downside returning back to the 12 and back towards the 9. But of course, we don't want to be holding on to a stock whereby, we are sitting on losses, right? So the reason why I'm saying this and highlighting this level is that the likelihood of prices actually breaking down and heading lower if prices were to break a support level is much higher, right? Makes sense, If prices were to break a support level, it just means that there is more selling pressure actually returning back to the counter, and that is not so great, right? So that is where we want to have our downside risk management, our downside plan, right, to manage our risk, because we don't want to be sitting on losses. So these are the three levels that I perhaps for myself, if I were holding on to Mara, right, this is where I will potentially want to set price alerts to alert me, right, to take a look at the stock again and think about, okay, is it time for me to actually reduce some exposure for this if prices were to break the support level, okay? And in terms of resistance wise, one of the level right over here would be at this 22, right over here, right? It's 22 level, and this is one of the resistance that potentially, if prices is able to consolidate sideways and form higher lows, this could be one of the resistance whereby we can potentially see some profit taking returning once again, right? But as for now, we are just seeing that prices could potentially move sideways until we see more confirmation that the red and the blue line and the green line have some signs of it starting to point up. Okay, so that would be for Mara Holding. Back over to you, Bervyn, to cover the next stock.
Thanks, Z. All right, here we go. I think Catherine. Hi, Catherine. Good morning. Alibaba has been dropping by the day. What is the key support level for now? Please advise. Thanks. All right. Okay, so yeah, I think a little bit of a weakness coming in for Alibaba. All right, that 130 level clearly broken that previous support level that we have drawn. Prices managed to or tried to hold above this level for about 3 days, not able to. Subsequently saw it slipping further and further. I mean, being a Chinese tech company, I think in the recent times, if we are seeing a little bit of trade tension between Chinese and the Chinese and the US companies, the Americans, I think we can expect higher volatility for the US for the counter as well, or for those Chinese tech companies as well. I think the nearer term key support level, to Catherine, to answer your question, I'll place it right around that 115 level. 115 level. We are coming very, very close to it. Why is this 115 level a very good support, a very key support to watch out for? It was previously a resistance. It tested it. Sorry, let me just use a marker instead. All right, we came close to it, tested it, did not manage to break above it. Finally managed to break above it in February, pushing higher, tried to hold above it during the sell down, not able to, right? So now we are right back at that 115 level, 115 level. Are we going to hit further? Don't know. As of now, not a little bit of conflicting signals. We have that one GT bearish signal coming in, showing that in the nearer term there could be weakness as we head towards the 115 level to test it. All right, so just let me just take a look at that 20 days moving average. We are pointing down or pointing down, not pointing up anymore. So not a good sign, nearer term weakness as well. But right, that 100 days, 200 days moving average is still currently pointing up. So, but I think if prices were to break below that 115 level, the next key support level would be around that psychological $100 level already. So I think that is a downside lah. There is downside for this counter of about 12%. But if we are able to see that 20 days moving average, flatten out a bit, Catherine, flatten out a little bit, means the prices are starting to stabilize around that level. Perhaps this 115 level could be a buy zone as well. All right, so we are just 2 days in testing this 115 level, not too many significant price action just yet. So we have that trailing resistance right around that 130 level, horizontal support level as well. Horizontal resistance level as well. Yep. So if we are able to break above the 130 level, we can have that 1 GT bullish signal coming right in. So I think, Catherine, in the nearer term, I don't think you should be making any major moves to buy. But if you are currently holding on to Alibaba, I think you want to be a bit more careful. If prices break below that 115 level, you want to perhaps maybe consider a stop loss plan as well. With a little bit of stabilization, with a little bit of more of a nearer term trend reversal, I would say before coming back in again. You don't want to be in a situation where it's like so I think somewhere in the past, if you look somewhere in the past, right around that COVID level, if you have been holding, or for someone who have been holding Alibaba since then, maybe a little bit stuck. You don't want to get back into that situation. You don't want that same scenario to play out. All right. So if that 130 level able to give you, I think very clearly from what you can see from the chart, that 150, to 150 level would be that resistance in the nearer term as well. So there is upside, there is downside. We are in a little bit of a limbo, a little bit of a no man's land. So I think it is good to just set up alerts below that 115 level, above that 130 level for now. All right, so that's for Alibaba Group Holdings listed on, I think, New York Stock Exchange. I think pass the time back now to Z to cover the next stock.
Okay, thanks, Bervyn. Okay, I think now the stock that I'm covering will be the 18th stock. I think very likely today we are able to do more than what we do usually. Okay, so I will be covering, I think, Alphabet, right? Google, because I think just now one of you guys were also asking about Google, right? Okay, so let's talk about Google, right? Because this is one of the very big companies that a lot of people are actually watching as well. And let's see what does the chart says, all right? So in terms of Google, we clearly see a rebound from the low, right? From the 140 level right over here, on this day, whereby a lot of stocks actually drop, right? Because of the tariff news and the tit for tat news, China, US tensions and things like that. So a lot of stocks actually drop, and this was where prices actually rebounded for Google. And this is the key support for Google, which is 140, right? This is one of the levels that we want to take note of, right? And subsequently on this day, which is on the 2nd of May, we actually do see a 1 GT bullish signal coming out. And just to recap, why do we see a 1 GT bullish signal coming out? It's actually because price closed above the trailing support, and that indicates more buying pressure returning to this counter, which is a good thing, right? I mean, but of course, the next few days we actually do see on this day, right? Oh, wow, the Google actually dipped quite a bit because of the news by that I believe that there's some news that is released by the Apple side and talking about like AI and task Google actually took a hit, right? And it actually dropped all the way, right, to about I think 151. But thankfully it is actually still holding above the trailing support right over here, and then subsequently prices continue to rebound higher, and this actually indicates that it actually shows strength for this particular counter, right, when prices actually head back all the way up. And of course, let me just turn this off first, okay? So when we are looking at this trend, this is actually further supported by the 20 days moving average moving upwards like this. But the longer term moving average, the red and the blue line, right, is actually also looking not too bad, right? It's looking not too bad. It's still pretty decent, I would say, in terms of the longer term trend, as both of them are, kind of like flattening out, right? Both of them are actually flattening out. And prices is currently heading back towards this 180 level right over here, which is a psychological resistance level that we have taken note of, right? So for those of you, who have, just nice, you bought into Google somewhere here at 140, 150, probably now you're already sitting on profits. Congratulations, right? And now you're thinking about maybe where potentially could you sell some of your positions. This is where potentially we could take a look at letting go some of your positions, reduce some exposure, put the money in your pocket first, partial position, 1/3, half, that's fine, right? And then for those of you who are actually thinking about getting into Google, right, this is for those of you who are holding. For those of you who are thinking about getting into Google, if prices is actually able to break and hold above this 180 psychological level, right, then that is where we also can get more confirmation that the longer term moving average, the red and the blue line, will probably also start to point up. And that is the kind of confirmation that we want from the trend as well, because we want the short term trend and the long term trend to be in the same direction, right? And this is where we can potentially position ourselves for entry if prices is actually able to break and hold above the 180 psychological level right over here. But of course, that being said, I would say this is a more aggressive strategy because you are doing a breakout strategy, right? But then it goes back to having a trading plan, having a stop loss plan, and your target price, so that you can manage your downside risk. Okay. So this would be for Google. And sorry, I didn't cover this. Okay, so the key psychological level that perhaps some of you guys might want to take note of would be the 200 level right over here, right? Okay, because this is where we actually saw multiple candlesticks, right, with long upper shadow right over here that indicates selling pressure returning. And this is where we also see a 1 GD bearish signal coming back in before price went all the way down to 140. Okay, so these are some of the levels I will take note: 140, 180, and 200. Okay, that will be for Google. Back over to you, Bervyn.
Thanks, Z. All right, let me just see what's the next stock. Derek's just asking, Sophie Tech can hold or to cut loss when in at 1390. When in at 1390. All right, so right here we have Sophie Tech. Derek, not too sure when did you buy Sophie Tech, but I think right now we are very, very close to that 1390 level, so I'm not too sure if you just bought it last week or like 2 weeks back. We have actually came close to that level. But I think very clear here we have a few reversal signals. At the same time, we have that prices rebounding from the $8 level, breaking above that $10 psychological level, and right now heading towards that 1350 to maybe about that $15, I would say, would be a key psychological resistance level. All right, but of course that 100 days moving average still pointing down. I cannot bluff ourselves yet. Don't bluff ourselves to say that it's pointing up. And that 20 days moving average just moving sideways. 200 days moving average still pointing up. And then we have a little bit of bearish or a little bit of selling coming in as of yesterday's close as well. But I think as of right now, we can find a temporary support right around that $12.50 level, 12.50. So that 1 GT bullish signal is still valid. That 1 GT bullish signal is still valid as of now, as prices broke above the 12.50 temporary resistance at that point, now temporary support. So we are in a little bit of like I said, for other counters, a little bit of no man's land, a little bit of a limbo. We may see prices move a little bit sideways, just moving within the range of 12.50 to about $15 or $2.50 range. So I think if you are, Derek, if you are able to access the trailing support and resistance, I think you should do it. You should use it as a use it as a stop loss level as well. Use it as a trading stop loss. Place your stop limit orders just below that $11.80 level, maybe about 11.50, 11.40 level would be a good level to place your stop loss, because I think very clearly also right here that 20 days moving average have just crossed over that 200 days moving average. If we are able to see that 20 days moving average retake that 100 days moving average, and that 100 days moving average start to flatten out, I think yes, perhaps we could be in a reversal. These are signs of an initial reversal, you know, as long as all those criteria fit. But hard to say as of now. Nobody can tell you if that trend reversal is confirmed. Yeah, but you already have a position. So Derek, I think the other thing you want to take note of would be a sell zone, maybe about 14.50 to about that $15 level. Want to take some profits, reduce a little bit of those exposure. That would also be possible. You know, you can leave a little bit of a position for yourself if that criteria, that reversal criteria start to play out. All right, but if it doesn't and prices start to, even though it doesn't and prices start to hit towards that $15 level, yes, then maybe take some profits, then it will make sense as well. So definitely, if we are able to see that $15 level give way, what is the upside? I think right here, just up a little bit, right? We can see that upside to maybe about that 7.15 to about that $18 level, resuming that all-time high or the nearer term high as well. That could be another possibility. All right, so if you do not have the 1 GT bullish or bearish signal, I think what Joey have is also okay. What we are using is the 1 GT Pro indicator, 1 GT Pro indicator. Joey have also instructed us to let you guys know that he has a 1 GT light indicator, light so not Pro So what does it have? It will only show, or it shows for the 1 GT signals. So that will help you to actually just get a little bit of a quick opinion without too many signals on the chart or too many trailing support. Yep. And then here's the thing, Joey have also very, very generously enable us to let you guys know that there is a 14 days free trial. So for those of you who are here for the first time and you want to just get a feel, or just want to test drive this 1 GT light indicator to just get yourself a little bit more familiar with the 1 GT signals, just click on the link. I think Z very kindly just put the link in the chat for you guys already. Just get into that website, just fill up a little bit of the details, and you can start the trial immediately. I think maybe just give us 1 or 2 working days to get it up for you as well. All right, so Derek, this is for Sophie. Just watch out for those key position or key support levels. Don't want to see it broken, want to see that longer term trend reverse. The uptrend reversal is still very, very early at this point. All right, okay, so right now I'll pass the time to Z to perhaps cover our bonus stock. I think we are up to 20 stocks already, are we?
I think now is 19. So maybe I'll cover the last one, which is the 20th stock. Then we move on to the bonus stock. All right. Okay, so like what Bervyn mentioned earlier on regarding the 1 GT light indicator, I think that is one of the ways that for you to actually really test drive and see how this indicator is helping you in your trading plan, right? And helping you in your trades. So like what Bervyn mentioned, this is totally free. There's no additional cost involved. Nothing is totally free for you to really to test drive it. All right. And okay, so let me just move on very quickly to the last stock before we share what is our bonus stock for today. Okay, so I think somebody was just asking about SE, right? Was it let me see. Okay, I think Vincent is actually asking about C Limited, right? So I think I have not been, to be honest, I have not been really looking at this stock because I know that it actually dipped very drastically and it has just been kind of moving sideways. There isn't, you know, any interest for me lah for this stock until I saw Vincent's comment about SEA, and then I went and take a look at it. Actually this stock not bad. Thanks for sharing with us, and let's cover this C Limited. Okay, so for C Limited, right, I mean, if I were to zoom out on the chart, right, back in 2022, this was a stock that actually crashed really badly, you know, all the way from like 360 to the lows of about $40, right? So let's just see. This is almost 100%, 90%, a 90% decrease from the highs to the lows, right? But then because there wasn't much confirmation of the trend, you know, back in 2023 and 2024, only until if we take a look at this, right, 2024, that is where we have started to have some signs of the uptrend, potential uptrend reversal playing out right over here with the moving averages, right? The first sign was actually this, to be honest, like right over here when the red line crossed above the blue line, and this is where we also got 2-1 GT bullish signal coming out prior to the confirmation of the moving averages, right? And subsequently, you know, back in 2024, that's where prices actually started to move higher, and this is where, you know, the stock started to get a bit more interesting, I would say. And right now this is where we are at, right, which is 161 as of close last night. And in terms of the moving average, right, if we take a look at this, comparing to what we see back in 2022 is the total opposite, right? This was the red above the blue above the green, right? And right now it is the opposite, right, which is the green above the red and above the blue. And this is what we actually want to see, right, actually for an uptrend. And when we even think about where do we want to put the stock into a watch list, or whether we want to buy into a stock, we want to look for an uptrending stock. So right now, I think based on this level right over here, right near the 150, right over here, I would say this is the immediate support level, right? Immediate psychological support level, I would say, because right over here, somewhere in March, this was when prices actually nearly unable to break above it, came back down, right? And then it went all the way down. Sellers came back in, 1 GT bearish signal came out, and it tested this $100 psychological level right over here, right? This is where buyers came back in and rebound. Prices rebound all the way up, broke the 150, and right now it is still holding above the 150 level, right? So in terms of, I think potentially positioning yourself for entry, right, one of the levels definitely could be near the support level, which is near the 150 psychological support right over here, right? Especially so when we see that both short term green line, red and blue, which is the longer term, are all heading up. And we also get a 1 GT confirmation, like a bullish signal right over here on this day, which is the 29th of April, right? 29th of April. So in terms of targets wise, projection wise, what I would do is that I would actually do a projection up like this and head up like that, right? So it will be, yeah, it will be near this level, which is the $200 psychological level right over here for the target. So if prices is actually able to, you know, consolidate, like move sideways a bit like that, and then actually form higher lows, and this would be the target that you know, perhaps we could potentially position ourselves to actually take some profits right near this level right over here. So that will be the $200. So I think for this this is one of the stocks that, you know, perhaps we should start monitoring as well and keeping a lookout in our watch list for our team. Yeah, because I think so far for this particular stock, it looks pretty good, right? Thank you for sharing, Vincent. So yeah, that will be a very quick one for C Limited. And I think so far we have covered 20 stocks today. That is an achievement because we have surpassed our 18 stocks, right? I think for the past few sessions, we have only just been hitting 18 stocks. So right now, I think I'll pass the time over to Bervyn, right, to actually share our bonus stock for today. So after Bervyn share his stock, then I'll be sharing my stock. And that would then conclude the end of today's Ask Me Any Stock session. All right. So I think we have been talking for about 1 hour and 15 minutes already, right? Or I think so. Close to
I
almost close to
think
2
it's
hours, I think.
1 hour 45 minutes.
Oh, 1 hour 45 minutes. Yeah, sorry, 1 hour 45 minutes. So I think for the balance 15 minutes, we'll quickly share with you guys, what is our bonus stock. And we hope that, we have been adding value for you guys in today's session. All right. So Bervyn, take it away.
Thanks, Z. All right, okay. So just before I share the bonus stock, speaking of value, so I just want to find out, because we are all brokers, remisers, trading reps under Philip Securities, under Joey, just want to find out which one of you guys here are our clients. Maybe if you are a client, receive some value today, you just type C in the chat so we know we can acknowledge you as well. I mean, thank you guys so much for being here. All right, just type C in the chat for client.
I think there's quite a few clients
Quite a
who are
few.
here today.
Jimmy, Derek, Catherine, HK, Vincent, nice, AR, Peter, thanks. All right, CCC, client, great. Hopefully we are able to actually, or we have actually, cover your stocks as well. So we'll try to continue to, provide value to you guys here. But for those of you who are wondering why all these people typing C, it's because they are clients of Joey's under Philip Securities. And if you wish to be a client under Philip Securities for absolutely free, no more additional costs other than what you usually pay, you can just simply, click the link in the chat to find out a little bit more. All right. Oh, even Amos, it's a client. Edmund, it's a client. Great. All right. So if you need a trading account under the Philip Securities, or if you've been trading elsewhere, want a little bit more help, a little bit more value, see what we can give to you as well. Think, yep, just definitely click the link in the chat just to find out a little bit more. All right. So now I'll cover the bonus stock that I have for you guys for today. So I think Styler, I think you got it heads on today. What is my stock that I'm going to cover? I'm going to cover Visa. All right. So that is why that, just now we didn't manage to cover Visa, the questions that you asked. I think right here, we are going to cover it as a bonus stock today. I think Visa has been on my watch list, on the team's watch list as well, since earlier mid of last year to early of this year. It started to really pick up and show a little bit more meaningful price moves. I think as of yesterday, we have managed to retake, Visa have managed to retake that $360 level that previously was a resistance, now turned back into a support as well. All right, but we have pretty much been kept, I would say, under that $370 level. Not able to go into a new phase just yet, but all signs are pointing that it may not be over for Visa just yet. We have that 20 days moving average pointing up, that 100 days moving average pointing up, that 200 days moving average pointing up, that one GT bullish signal coming right in, that prices have actually, or these signs are actually pointing towards prices still showing more momentum, or could potentially continue to show more momentum as long as that $370 level gives way. So I think in the nearer term, what we can expect for Visa, what you can do for Visa would be to just mark out these two levels first, and like Z have also mentioned, if prices break above that 370 level, maybe up towards that 374, 375 level, that could be a potential for a breakout trade. A little bit more aggressive, but I think for sure, if we are able to break above the 370 level and hold above it, that would be a new support level, which enables prices to head towards, I would say, that $400 psychological resistance. Still a pretty good upside for about 7 to 8%. All right, 7 to 8%. But if you guys have previously gotten into Visa already, I don't know what levels you have bought, you may want to just turn on that trailing support to actually take a look right here. We have that trailing support already above that $340 support level. So I think if you are looking to protect some profits, all right, that 340 level could be an area where you actually want to protect some profits. Why? Because that 100 days moving average, that trailing support is right there, that horizontal support is right there. So if that level is not able to hold up, all right, may see a little bit more or a little bit of weakness coming in towards that, perhaps that 310 $300 psychological support level. So as of right now, if you want to protect some profits, place a stop limit order, I think just below 340, about 335, maybe even 334. I think that should suffice. All right, so if prices continue to push higher, you want to be alerted to another 1 GT bullish signal that could come in if prices break above that 370 level. I think that's potentially where that additional 1 GT bullish signal could come in. But right now, that 1 GT bullish signal is still valid. Let's see. I think maybe across the next few weeks, if that 370 level could be tested. A little bit of a slow and steady up move, those kind of textbook up moves that we really like. Healthy consolidation, move higher, healthy consolidation, move a little bit higher. So I think Visa will still be on our team's watch list. I think it should be on your watch list as well. All right. So I think that is my bonus stock for today. I think it should still continue to be one of our bonus stocks, hopefully in the next few weeks to come as well. All right, Zee, passing the time back to you to cover the last stock for today.
All right, thanks, Bervyn. I think I really like Visa as well. It's definitely also one of the stocks that I have also set alerts and trying to monitor and watch, right? So the next stock, right, that I'll be sharing in terms of the bonus stock for today for myself, I think that would be, let me just share my screen. Okay, that would be Quest Diagnostics. So for some of you guys who have been joining this session for the past few times, right, probably you have already heard of this stock. So this is one of the healthcare stocks that uptrend looks fantastic, right? And right now there could be potential zones of entry that perhaps we can actually monitor, right? So this is Quest Diagnostics. So just by purely looking at the trend, it is also definitely one of the uptrending stocks, pretty similar to Visa in terms of the longer term trend. You see the red and the blue line is definitely hitting up, but right now what we are seeing in terms of the short-term trend is that there could be some, profit taking happening, and there's some selling pressure returning. But overall wise, it is still looking pretty decent for this stock, especially so when we do have two consecutive 1 GT bullish signal coming out. So one on this day, 28th of April, and the other one is on 19th of May, right? And at this point in time, there is still no bearish signals yet, right? So one of the levels, right, that I think I've drawn right over here would be the 164 to about 165, this support level. And I would say this level, right, is actually really one of the very crucial key horizontal support level that we want to take note of, right? First thing first is definitely because here was actually a resistance, price was testing, immediately broke it actually eventually broke above, came back down to retest it multiple times here, right? And right now it's holding above it. But apart from all of these reasons, right, one of the key reasons is actually this was actually one of the highs, right, back in 2022, December 2021, right over here, end of the year, right, when prices actually near this level. This is where it was unable to break above it. But right now it's actually meaning to say it's actually holding above a multi-year high level, and this would be one of the key support level that definitely I would want to take note of, right? And right now, over the past few weeks, right, we can also see definitely selling pressure returning at one of these key resistance level, which is the 180. You see over here on this day, right, there's this very long candlestick with a long upper shadow. Definitely indicates, the sellers are all queued at this near the 180 resistance level, right, whereby we actually saw selling pressure returning. And then right over here, over the past few weeks, somewhere in early May, this is where selling pressure return, profit taking return, and this is where we are at right now, 172, right, as of last night. So for this counter, right, potential upside targets that we are looking at definitely will be around 195 to 200 psychological level. And how did we actually arrive to that figure is actually based on a projection upwards, right? It's based on a projection upwards from this range right over here. And that would be one of the levels that, perhaps we can actually potentially see some profit taking returning if prices, if if it is able to do this, right, go up and break and hold above this, this is where potentially we might see price heading towards. Definitely with, you know, both longer term moving average, right, still heading up. So the key question is now, okay, so we have the targets level, right, but in terms of entry, where can we potentially think about entering, right? Think about entering. Of course, number one, same thing, we would be entering near a support level right over here, right, which I mentioned this is one of the very crucial and key support level that we are looking at. So this could be one of the potential entry zones, right, that we want to position ourselves for entry, right? And the next thing that I want to share with you guys would be this, right over here. If I were to turn on the trailing support and resistance level, we can actually see that, you know, the trailing support and resistance level is right over here, right? So actually this would be a level that we can also potentially position ourselves for entry. Okay, we can also position ourselves for entry near the trading support, and my preference, right, would be the trading support. Why? Because the thing is that horizontal supports, it doesn't account for volatility, right? It accounts for, like, it's just a level, right? A level based on how many times, you know, the candlestick had actually touched. The more times it touched, the more weightage it gives, but it doesn't account for the stock volatility. But whereas on the other hand, trailing support and trailing resistance accounts for the stock volatility, as I mentioned, based on the average true range, right? The indicator called the average true range, and it takes into account of the volatility of the stock. So I would rather have like, for personally for myself, I would rather, you know, have a zone right over here in terms of the potential zone of entry somewhere above the trailing support level right over here. But of course, that being said, I also wouldn't know whether, you know, price will really go back down to this level for me to actually enter, right? But this would be where I would potentially set my price alert at, right? Somewhere near this level to actually position myself for entry and to, you know, alert me again to see, okay, when is a good time for me to take a look at this stock, right? So yeah, so to wrap up for Quest Diagnostic, I would say for potential zone of entry would be near the trailing support right over here. Immediate resistance where some profit taking can happen would be near the 180, and potential upside targets that we are looking at would be around 195 to about 200. All right. But that being said, do remember, if you do decide to enter any of the stocks, right, remember always to have your trading plan in place, and that means to have your stop loss plan in place to manage your downside. Okay, so that would be Quest Diagnostic from me today. Right, then I think we have come to the end of today's session, right, Bervyn? Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think that's all that we have for you guys today. I hope you have gotten some value from today's session. I think right now we still have about 90 over people who are here with us today. Thank you so much for staying all the way until the end. You know, if you have gotten value, just please let us know. Put a V in the chat. Let us know that, you know, at least we know that we have given you guys some value, and we hope to see you guys again in our next session. So I think the next session would be on which day again is it? On 6th
It'll
of
be on
June,
the
right?
6th.
Next Friday. Yeah, next Friday, and we will actually be covering the Singapore stock. And I think Joey is not back from Korea yet by next week, so we will be hosting the session again, Bervyn and myself, and we hope to see more of you guys here again the next week for the Singapore market. All right. So thank you so much, everybody. Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. Thank you. See you guys again. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Have a great weekend, everybody. Bye bye.